In this video, I'll be breaking down question 42 of the USMLE's 2021 version of the free 120 sample questions for Step 1, which is linked in the video description down below. As always, if you haven't taken a look at this question yet, I encourage you to pause the video, try working through the question on your own, and then come back here and check out the breakdown. Okay, so let's take a look at the question, and as always, we'll start at the end. We'll figure out what they're asking before we go back to the passage and get our key information. So they're saying, what is the most likely cause of this patient's nausea and vomiting? So thinking about our styles of question on step 1, mechanism, diagnosis, association. This sounds like it's going to be probably a mechanism style question. So let's go back to the passage. Let's see what we find here. So we have a 43-year-old woman, type 2 diabetes, coming in with 12 hours, so acute nausea and vomiting, and began after drinking champagne at a birthday party the previous night. 3 days ago, was diagnosed with trichomonas vaginalis, treated with metronidazole. These are her other medications here. And vitals, a little tacky, but otherwise vitals look not too bad. Some pallor and some dry mucous membranes. So with all of this, what do we think is the most likely cause, or what's the mechanism behind this patient's nausea and vomiting? So let's go through these answer choices and let's see how we would work this if we're stuck at this point, and if we say, okay, I'm not sure exactly what could be causing this patient's nausea and vomiting. Let's see if anything here at least makes sense. So accumulation of acetaldehyde. Okay, maybe I don't know what they mean by this. This sounds like some kind of biochemical pathway. I don't even remember what acetaldehyde is, so I'll put a question mark next to that. I won't rule it out just because it's something that I don't know or because it's something I haven't heard of. I'll keep it around, but I'll see if I find anything that I understand a little better. Okay, gastritis secondary to alcohol. Okay, she did have some champagne the previous night, but I feel like if this person had gastritis, yeah, they would have some vomiting, but they should also probably have abdominal pain, and they didn't really give us anything like that. And I'm not, we don't know how much champagne this person doesn't, so I guess we shouldn't extrapolate and make assumptions based on the amount, but we'll say gastritis. I would expect with that inflammation of the gastric mucosa to have some abdominal pain, and there's none. So I'm going to put a down arrow next to that. I don't like it as much. We'll see if we find something better. Lactic acidosis secondary to metformin. Okay, so she's on metformin. What I remember about this is people get lactic acidosis if they have kidney failure or really bad, poor renal function on metformin. And they didn't give us anything here that would give us a clue that that's what's going on, that she has poor renal function for some reason. So that to just suddenly have an acute onset of lactic acidosis due to her metformin, like an acute kidney failure thing, doesn't really make sense. I feel like this is something that we would see coming. And 43, we don't know how long she's had type 2 diabetes, but it seems a little bit young for me to already be having a serious renal impairment due to diabetes. So I kind of don't like C for those reasons. D, okay, metronidazole induced hepatotoxicity. I don't even know if this is a side effect of metronidazole, so I couldn't rule it out. But hepatotoxicity, I would expect instead of pallor, I'd probably expect jaundice in that individual. And so if there was a hepatotoxic picture going on and without jaundice, that seems a little abnormal to me. So I'm gonna downrank D also. And then viral hepatitis, on top of the jaundice, I'd expect some fever or something else with an acute infection. So no jaundice. I don't really think hepatitis. That's that kind of, I'm ruling it out, down-regulating it or down-ruling it for the same reasons I'm getting rid of hepatotoxicity. So now I'm at the end. I've got one answer I don't know about. I've got 4 answers that aren't really plausible to me. So the answer must be this thing that I don't know about. And that's how I would approach something if I had ruled out everything except for something that I don't know. I think the biggest risk that somebody could have, the biggest trap someone could walk into is they'd say, okay, I don't know what that is. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to get rid of answer choice A because I haven't heard of acetaldehyde, or I don't remember what it is, or I just don't like the way that it looks. And then they get rid of a plausible answer rather than ruling it out based on some hard criteria. And so acetaldehyde, if we do remember, maybe someone says, okay, I remember that's the thing that gives us hangover, right? We turn ethanol into acetaldehyde, and then we break that down into something else. And it's the acetaldehyde that makes people feel terrible. And so maybe, if somebody remembered that, maybe that would help them reason this out a little bit better. And then the key thing to also remember, metronidazole, remember that inhibits, that's our disulfiram-like effect. That inhibits our acetaldehyde dehydrogenase. So we have alcohol dehydrogenase turns ethanol into acetaldehyde, and then acetaldehyde dehydrogenase turns that into something harmless. And so metronidazole is what inhibits that step and causes the buildup in acetaldehyde. So if you remember that mechanism, this is easy. But if you get a question where you don't remember the mechanism, then it's great to see how you'd work through these things, even if it's something that you do know. See how the question is constructed and if there was another way to get to that answer, because ultimately you're going to have a question where you forget something, you don't know the mechanism, you don't know something like that, and you want to know how to handle a question like that. So this is how I would do it if I didn't know what acetaldehyde did. So I hope this was helpful. If you like this breakdown, check out some of the other breakdowns in this series. And as always, I hope this helps you out on test day.